I know the monitor isn't fixed yet, however, stick with me and we'll get through it together. Hello and welcome back to DiveDrop. Something I've noticed recently is that there is a growing hate against rides and attractions that aren't really coasters or rides, they're more just walkthroughs. Now I can understand why, to be honest. These rides, well, they're not rides, they're walkthroughs. They rely on heavy theming and scenery to work, and if you haven't got that, then it's a corridor. However, today I'm going to take you through 3 different walkthroughs and why I love them and why you are wrong if you don't. So please sit back, relax and enjoy the wonderful world of walkthroughs. Before we start though, if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot and it makes me more passionate on making this sort of content. Thank you in advance. I should warn you, from here on there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go away. Now those idiots are gone, let's jump right in. The first one I want to talk about is Nemesis Subterra, which I believe to be a great attraction, however, everyone else disagrees. So Nemesis Subterra originally opened as a prequel to the whole Nemesis story. The sort of story behind it is you are taken deep underground by the Phalanx army to have a viewing of a singular Nemesis egg. You're split into 4 groups, you used to be shouted at, they don't really do that anymore, but then you're taken in a lift sent underground into what they call the Central Core, and then that area is where the main egg is. You all sat down around the edges of the room, and then the lap bar goes over you to stop you touching the egg. Not suspicious at all. Once all the lap bars are down, the Phalanx operatives leave the room, and then the narrator, audio, whatever you call them, starts talking to you and says welcome and all that rubbish. From there, the ride begins. The heart rate of the Nemesis egg starts to increase, then it all gets a bit wacky, the lights go out, and before you know it, the egg's cracked open and there's an alien on the loose. This ride has a whole heap of effects to give to you. First you get sprayed with water, then the drop tower sequence starts, and it's one of the only drop towers I know that you start on the top and then drop to the bottom and climb back up afterwards. You drop and see all of these eggs in the discovered cave that they found. And they've actually made it an experience, so when you climb back up the lift hill, you're not just sat in silence. You're currently hearing lots of noise effects. There's leg ticklers, which will hurt if you're not wearing shorts. There's your warning. There's those things that prod you on the back. I always have to lean forward because I'm a coward. And then when you hit the top, the restraints go and you're rushed into the lift to get out. But here's where the walkthrough begins, because you are not just on a drop tower. You enter the lifts, which you are hearing loud alarm sounds, the doors closed and they're suddenly like rushing to try and get out. But it all goes horribly wrong. The lights start going, smoke comes in, red lights start flashing, the walls start collapsing on you, and it's like the Nemesis creature is trying to stop the lift. The doors of the other end of the lift then open up, you are rushing out, and it turns out to be a bit of a mini scare maze. At this point in the video, I was going to start then talking about why I loved it. If I'm honest, I can't remember why I said that. It's just a sentimental thing, I guess. If you haven't been towers before, but you ignored my thing to say stop watching, do Nemesis Subterra when you go. It's worth doing. Anyway, moving on to the meat of the video with Hex. Now, Hex has actually been closed for about 2 seasons, is it? Basically, it's needed a lot of repair and that, so they've given it the time it fully deserves and decided to continue it as a good staple of the park, which I really am glad about because I really enjoyed this ride. If you've been on it, you'll know it's a sort of walkthrough that then leads onto a Vekoma Madhouse. So first of all, you go into a cinema and you watch a 4-minute presentation on the whole story of Hex. You then head into the Octagon, which is a good part of the towers, and it's really well themed. And you see about a 30-second clip on the story in 2024. And then you head through the bookshelf, bookcase, curtain, whatever. You turn left and you make a walk towards the Vekoma Madhouse, and that is the finale of the ride. Now, the other day, the actual ride itself reopened, and I was lucky enough to go to the park on the Saturday, so the second day it opened. And I queued for 15 minutes, and I like how they've done the queue outside now. It means people can actually see it's a ride now. But yeah, so I queued 15 minutes outside. My group then got taken into that front room in like what used to be your indoor queue, and then I was able to leave through the accessible entrance. I'm not going to explain why the ride was short because I don't want to contribute to the tabloids here in the UK. However, it is such a shame seeing what happened to the ride, especially after the park put a lot of effort into it. Now, Hex actually is due to reopen tomorrow, which will be the day that I get this video out. So, if it is, good. I'm sorry I'm going to have to leave it there, but there we go. So, the final walkthrough I want to talk about today is actually a more common kind of walkthrough, and this is the Scare Maze. Now, this one here is Compound. It opened new for Towers this year in a brand new building, right by the toilets for the Curse of Tulton Manor. Now, a Scare Maze is like your top tier walkthrough attraction because you've got incredible theming and you've got live actors to scare you to death, as they did to me. With Compound, it's sort of a follow-on. I'm not sure what part of the timeline it is for the Nemesis story. However, the idea is you are a protester, one of like the actors they have roaming around the ride, and you are taken away and put into their sort of makeshift prison cells. Now, unfortunately, these prison cells are also home to the more or less preschool version of the Nemesis monster. There's a bit of an outbreak and then you've got to run for your life and get through and all that, and a lot of people have said they have had a phenomenal time throughout this. And it pains me to say my one run through I had wasn't the strongest. But I don't want to say it's a bad maze because I know it isn't. I think it's quite unfair for me to go, oh, terrible maze, didn't enjoy it, rubbish, get rid of it, after doing one run through, because it's clearly had a lot of effort and time put into it. Just going through, you can see the level and attention to detail of the theming of the actual attraction itself. I think it would be more fair for me to give a valid opinion on this after a second or third run through. That's not going to happen, so I don't know why I'm talking about it. Unfortunately, I've not got a chance to go again this year to Scarefest, but hopefully for next year it will be back better than ever, and hopefully I'll understand what everyone's so excited about. So I thought it would be good to talk about why people don't enjoy walkthrough attractions in general. The main reason for which is being, they're a bit of a one-trick pony. With things like Hex, the cinema and the Octagon, there's only so many times you can see that before it gets boring. It's the same with Wicker Man, the pre-show in there. There's only so many times you can watch that pre-show before you're like, forget this, I just want to go on the coaster. For me, the reason I quite enjoy them is because they're just nice to have a little break in the park. Doing things such as a roller coaster after a roller coaster, it's good for people. I enjoyed it growing up. However, I think now it's better to have a bit of a varied environment, and something such as Hex, it's good to have just a little bit of calm in between each sort of bit of chaos. So with that, I will bid you farewell. Thank you for watching. See you soon.